This is a video about work done on my anchor and windlass and chain. I own a 2013 38-foot Island Spirit catamaran, and currently in lockdown we're doing repairs at Reback Island shipyard. On the back of that photograph, and here's a picture of the Reback Island itself, and we're on the hard, up on stands and taking our time doing the work. I had problems with the windlass clutch. It kept breaking free and the anchor would fall back into the water, so the clutch was replaced. Here's a diagram of how the windlass goes together, and I also had trouble with the windlass motor. So here's a photograph of the windlass from the top, and here's a photograph of the motor itself, which I took out and had an electrician recondition it, and it turned out a lot cheaper than replacing it. I had problems with the U-bolt on the bridle, and in a storm it broke loose and put a lot of pressure on the chain and windlass, so I had that replaced. And you'll see that the swivel was old and had to be replaced, and there's the new U-bolt, and you'll see a spring that keeps it from coming apart. Here's another spring on one of the other U's, and the swivel as well. So an all stainless steel setup on the chain. When the winter monsoons came around in Langkawi, the Bruce anchor dragged a number of times. Here's a photograph of a Bruce anchor, and I decided to replace it. Here's a couple of my anchors, an old mooring anchor and the old Bruce anchor, which I'll get galvanised and keep it as a spare. Here's the Rockner 25s in the shop, where I decided to purchase it from in the Royal Langkawi Yacht Club chandlery there, and this is a photograph of a Rockner 25. I also replaced the swivel with these Maxwells, which supposedly have a good name. While I'm on the hard, I cleaned the anchor with some rust remover and
one of the best investments
and some acid.
And
there's the Rockner
25
on the ground. And
And
here's the chain in a bucket full of water and acid, trying to remove the rust. It didn't do a good job, but it's good enough until I get it galvanised in the near future. So up on the bowpit before the trampoline is where the anchor setup comes out of the anchor storage locker, and you'll see that there's a bracket. Now what was happening is the anchor would be pulled up and it would bang up against the bowpit and do some damage. So I wanted to bend that U-shaped bracket where the photograph shows the yellow mark, and I got Matt from LMS Langkawi Marine Service to do the job. Here he is cutting off the bracket. He couldn't heat it up and bend it, and he cut it off and bent it while it was on the ground. And here he is welding it back into place, and you'll see his helper down below with all the equipment. I also got LMS to fabricate and fit a anchor backing plate onto the bowpit. See a temporary brutal putty stuck onto the bowpit to prevent damage. Here's some measurements of what I wanted done. It turned out a little bit different than that. We initially had problems with the angle that I'd measured. Adjusted it with a blowtorch and a bit of friendly persuasion. And you'll see him here that he's trying not to overheat the metal and cooling it down, and there's a purpose in his madness, of course. and then the young bloke had the job of standing on it and bending it to the angle that we wanted it when we required it to fit. So you'll see him use an angle tool to get the angle right, and once he'd finished that and we were happy with it, they put it back up into position and began the process of fixing it in place. We started with putting some silica in behind the plate and the fiberglass bow put, and then Matt started to drill holes and fit some appropriate stainless steel screws. Here's a better video of Matt drilling the holes, and once the holes were drilled he filled them with silica and then tapped in the screws, stainless steel screws, and once he'd completed the job he filled as much as he could more silica. And here's a video of the anchor in place up against the backing plate. A lovely job well done by LMS Langkawi Marine Services, Matt and his young helper. And if you pause this, you'll see the Google Maps, the details of his business. That's the end of another exciting video of the work done on my anchor and windlass and chains. The video was produced by myself.